Welcome, everyone. Just sit back and relax as we're getting the stream and studio started here. All righty. Welcome, welcome, everyone, to Living the Mystical Life Daily, our second webcast. We're going to get a chance to do Q&As. So if you people have questions, now is the time to get in and write down those questions so my team has a chance to pull them out. Now you've listened to a bunch of videos and you've gotten to this point here. And we're going to talk about what Living the Mystical Life Daily online course is. It has obstacles and challenges that we'll all be going through. It'll be your promise to yourself to live the mystical life daily, to understand what you have to overcome, what obstacles you have to face within. And we do this by understanding who you are in the now, by asking questions of what you are in the now, allowing the fullness of your hyper being to be here in the present and the ever-present always here. Many of you have heard these videos and have had your own sets of experiences using the different techniques that I provided. You've made it to this level. You've challenged your mediocrity of what was before. But here, what type of process do you want? What I'm presenting in Living the Mystical Life Daily is an area to find success, an area to know what is challenging you so that you can outcreate programs of self-defeat and learn about manifesting your will. In these positions, in these concepts, in these expressions will be where you apply your sacred discipline, your sacred unity, your sacred heart space. This is where you learn and relearn what emanation versus emulation really means. This is where you'll have processes and techniques that will challenge you in an out loud, name it to claim it format of what manifesting your will truly means to you in the now. Ask yourself this question: what is the thing I wanted in my life the most and I actually got? And then juxtapose, what did I need the most and I didn't get? Contemplate that for a minute. Contemplate that for a process. For there is a great teaching between want and need. In manifesting your will, there is already a process within you where you've separated wants versus needs, where you are not investing into something that takes a tremendous amount of energy away from the I am now, but all of the other things have very little investment within them. This is why so many people come into these spiritual process, these spiritual challenges, and they're unable to manifest their will because so many other areas are taking up their area of focus, their operation of the spirit in the seen and the unseen world. It is here, you, that will understand the pureness of your own creation, what it takes to manifest with the out loud name it to claim it system, or the writing down process and the re-recording of your own voice so that your alchemy of creation is manifest by you. You come into the next teaching of learning of how to be the fetus in the womb or the fetus inside your heart. Those are manifestation and alchemy of creation techniques. There is where your will to visualize, create, and co-create, creates a manifestation of your own guided meditation of you in connection with the fetus that you were in the womb. This leads to advancing your ability to dream with the joy of prayer. This is the shamanic recipe. How much salt or pepper or turmeric or marjoram that you want will be up to you. How much spice you want within it will ultimately be up to you. This shamanic recipe is asking for your direct input. So many people tell me, I don't have the time, I don't have a sacred space. Well, one of the things I want to address, if you truly want a spiritual process in your life, you must make time so that you can begin to have no time moments. What is a no time moment? Here's an example. You're at work and you know you've got 2 hours left in the day and 4 hours of work, and you don't want to bring any of it home with you. And you finished that work. You engaged your genius. That's a no time moment where you did more than you expected in any way, shape, or form? Were you out visioned your own self? Those are no time moments. Those are the most ephemeral of no time moments. And then on the opposite of that pendulum swing, a solid no time moment is when one is in the lucid dream state, where a dream can seem like 5 hours, but it was only 5 minutes. Those are the two juxtapositions of time. In using no time as your explanation of a limitation of not being able to give time to spiritual practice, you are ultimately saying no to the no time process, which is the unseen world, which is trying to engage you through your shamanic recipe. The next one is I don't have a sacred space. Everyone around me doesn't like what I do. Those are projections of others. If you truly want to have sacred space, you will find the time and the place to do it. You will know that your inner self needs to have a sacred space that allows you to create and co-create within yourself. To deny yourself a sacred space is to deny yourself a part of this world. Every creature being in this world, from the astral to the surface to the subsurface to the deep hollow earth, all have their own sacred space. Every tree in the forest, every blade of grass has their own sacred space in equal creation with the life force that's in around them. Equal creation. When one learns the deeper understandings of sacred space, you are giving it your healing and nurturing energy so it can give you healing and nurturing energy back. That is the point of creating the bubble of no time around yourself. To do the four corners of the bed, to do the different techniques and processes that allow you to go to sleep and wake up with the fullness of your dreams intact. The sacred space is the shell that allows you to let down and do that in joy, harmony, and happiness. For if you find yourself unable to do this in joy, harmony, and happiness, why are you really doing it? Repetition for repetition's sake? The goal is repetition with illumination in all subject matters that we want to learn about. Spirituality goes through these times where we can have what I call enlightenment traps, where we've gotten to a certain level, we get comfortable in it, comfortable in explaining who we are and what we are, but not advancing to the next level, staying within that zone. A sacred space at one point in time may become a limitation. This is why we are constantly defining our boundaries, constantly in an expression in our living the mystical life daily that is using joy and happiness so that the seeds of doubt don't enter us. That is the other thing so many people have a tough time with. They doubt themselves. They doubt themselves so much that they won't even begin the project. Living the Mystical Life Daily online course is putting the Roundup, that spray, that GMO Roundup, right on that seed of doubt. It is saying that I am going to use to engage my voice in the form of contract revocation and life force invocation. An example of life force invocation is the heart meditation, where you're bringing your vision, your guidance into the pureness of your blood, the pureness of your marrow, and programming the mystical expression. This is also where you can surgically remove your own seeds of doubt. In the advanced heart meditation, there is where you have the opportunity to create something that eliminates your self-defeating processes, so that ultimately you can create a sacred space. So you can create time to have no time processes. So you can understand the fetus in the mother's womb. So that your personal alchemy of creation means something to you. Has a legacy to the future yous that go, wow, look at this journey that I went on and the gifts that I left myself. Man, this is where I have hindsight and go, look what it took for me to manifest my will, to get out of the ruts that I was in. It was this here that created the ladder out of from my stairway of despair. It allowed more connection to my dreaming self till I suddenly said, I do have time. I will make sacred space. I will not allow doubt to enter my flow. And that's the next process with spiritual information, spiritual processes, day to day, the flow of information. So many people look at me and go, "You've been doing it forever. You've been doing it since you were a kid." No, each and every day I made a choice. I chose to work out at a triathlon metaphorical expression so that my multidimensional self was able to flow with this information. Each and every radio show I've done, each and every show I've recorded, each and every private session has been at that triathlon level of expression of my personal processes. That was choice and many choice points within it. The flow of information can be quite easy when one is in true heart-spaced awareness of joy, allowing their voice, which has been their regular process of repetition with illumination, to be that creative force that creates the eternal internal dialogue. Eternal internal dialogue. There will be your hyper process of saying, "I am here. I can flow with this information. I do not doubt myself, for I am not making up this information. I am more than I've heard, read, or studied. I am a conscious being aware of the now, not limited to time and not limited to any other expression that would take away from my unlimited point of view." All of the teachings that are in this 6-week course are designed to expand you from a limited point of view so that you can begin to perceive what an unlimited point of view is, to learn where one argues for their limitations and where one learns how to argue for their new things that they want in their life. Argue for limitations. That is what so many people come with me. "I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of that." Or in this long string of things that happened previously, so they'll never go forward in their life. This now comes down to discernment. Choice and discernment are such powerful tools in our life. So many people come to me, "How do you know what you're saying is true? How do you know 2 + 2 is 4? How do you know anything is real? How do you know the screen you are looking at is real? How do you know the clothes on your skin are real? How do you know that the pillow that you sleep on every night doesn't vanish and turn into something different when you go into the dream world?" Flow of information and discernment are almost one and the same. Now, there are times that our inner processes, which we have been ignoring and denying, change the flow of information into charge, into polarity. This is why we've taken the time to have sacred space in no time. This is why we've taken the seeds of doubt out, so our discerning natures are fully engaged when the flow of information is there. That there is an ingrained repetition with illumination process that says our discerning skills of our inner self are there. That we are not speaking from ego. That we are not in a place of pain and jealousy or hatred, but allowing ourselves to be in joy with that flow and be willing to record it and use secondary discernment for what it says. Is it applying to me, a future me, a past me, or is this something I need to study and make more engagement with? It will always be your choice of how much discernment you want to have. It will always be your choice of how much joy you want in your life. And that will determine how much flow of information you can truly have. Now, information is one thing. What we do with that information, that's a whole new layer. Living the Mystical Life Daily online course is helping you taking all of the different skill sets and taking it to the next level. Some of the people that I've helped over the years are healers who have their own modalities, business professionals, sports professionals, spiritual teachers, everything you can possibly think of, from movie stars to the most strangest of strange. Some of these stories have their own meta teachings within them. And one that I'd like to share with you is an older gentleman who was a writer of fiction books. And when he came to me, he was having major heart issues. He had lost his wife in a car accident and a variety of other unpleasant things. And he was suffering from truly a broken heart. He wasn't able to write anymore. It had been nearly 10 years. And in his own way, his first call to me was almost his last call for the world. And I often get that in my private sessions, where you know right away that this person's choice after this is they don't want to live anymore. And when I engaged the heart meditation with him and engaged him to go back into the fetus in the womb, when I engaged him in such a way to create healing within himself, he saw he created a stairway of darkness, and one that was reflected in the different books that he had written, the different stories that he had created, the different process that he engaged with studying that brought some form of dirty energy that wasn't his. When we began to separate the writer from the man, the writer from who missed his wife and the writings that reflected that versus the man who truly missed his wife. When those stories were shared with himself in his own internal dialogue, he began to learn at a greater level how much he had disconnected and become callous to the world. Now, shortly after our sessions, he was able to go back and find his way to write again. And this time he switched to modern poetry, something that he had wanted to do since the dawn of his childhood. And he gave himself, well, to say, a new lease on life, and was able to have the next level of interaction with his spirit and his wife who had passed, because he chose to go back to the fetus in the womb, where he could communicate to the very spirit that was his wife, who had planned spiritual contracts with him, so that he could honor her as the ancestor that she was. Powerful healing tools have come here. We must choose to use them, though. Some business professionals that come to me now, these are CEOs, corporate lawyers, people that have to deal with very dense energies. But growing up when they were young, they saw spirit. But they were little geniuses that had to make a choice between education and spirit. And they chose education. And one of the common processes that I get is men and women both having sexual projections from the office impregnated upon them, coming through the energetic servers, through the board meetings, through the paychecks. Both masculine and feminine, different processes of perversion. This is where contract revocation, making their office space sacred, creating borders and boundaries, were able to redirect the energies so they weren't constantly in this harsh energy environment. The same thing goes with spiritual teachers. They too had a very similar process. One example I'm reminded of is an older gentleman, been a spiritual teacher for nearly 30 years, taught a variety of martial arts and meditations. And when he came to me, he was at a point where he didn't really want to do on-stage work. He didn't find it pleasing to him anymore. He didn't allow it to really be within him. And it's because he had invested so many of his life points into other students who ultimately had their own failure to launch. What we discovered within him was that there was a little martyr, a little zealot within him who had put a little piece of his soul aside for about 30 different students, ones that he thought would take over his legacy and continue the truth, ones that he was going to give all the rights to go and teach that form. But none of them had the guts or the heart to step up. And when we uncovered this truth, is where he had his moment, where his own teacher had passed a moment to him and gave him some special words and said, not all will be ready, but when they are ready, you must be ready to teach. We both had a very special moment there, both being teachers in our own right. We must be ready to teach at any moment, teach ourselves, teach our future selves. We at any moment can engage our no-time skill and be hyper-presentive, hyperactive, working with the many unseen worlds that are around us in equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, creating a whole new method, a whole new manner of telling this reality we're choosing to go a different way. We are not following your tenets and policies and rules and procedures that says how a hologram is to be run. We are choosing to create our own. This is what Living the Mystical Life Daily online course is. How to create your own breakaway civilization of one, to be your own spirit, not entangled with the universal karmas, dogmas, and dharmas that are here. but having free will of choice equal to the level of your awareness so you can hold your own mantle of responsibility and say, I am choosing to learn the truth of this world. I'm not allowing its charge and polarity to take me over. I'm remaining the sacred neutral witness so I may find the end through neutrality and end my contracts, vows, and agreements and understand why I did this. Why I went through this. What was this illusion here, or delusion, or reality that was created that said to me I must engage over many millions of years? Choice comes on so many levels. There are so many myths in the spiritual industry. One of the myths that I'd like to talk to you about today is bust this myth. Limitations. Before I said the term arguing for one's limitations. How many of you know that people that do that? They're always arguing, saying, I will never be able to do this because of this, this, and this. My mom was mad, was angry with me when I was a teenager. My dad hated me when I was in my 20s, and now I don't have a mom and dad. Whatever build up is their limitation. Within each of those limitations are tens of thousands sub-expectations that have created a stairway of limitation that is now creating a myopic, a singular point of view that does not allow other points of view in. That does fall under the terminology of zealot, that does fall under the terminology of martyr, subtly, at the most subtle layers. So creating expectation is creating limitations of your unlimited point of view. This myth that I want to bust here, it is never ending. There are always going to be a form of expectation until one makes the leap internally into precognitive function. This is just like being in awake, falling asleep into lucidity. A whole different layer and level of responsible energy is available to you. Expectation is what our mind does to fill in the reality around us. You know if your third shelf over has forks in it, or dishes, or pots, or pans. You can probably even remember what your second house was when you were 11 years old, where the dishes were. Are they still there? Do you really know they're still there? There are expectations, and then there are the limitations of those expectations saying, I'm choosing to adhere to a reality rule. That means there were choices and choice points throughout my life that said I will adhere to these choice points, and this adherence creates my limitation of reality. Contemplate that. We at any moment in time can go back to any set of choices or choice points and flip the energies on them, or erase them, or change them. For they are just something that is holding us in linear time, in linear belief. When you choose to let go of linear belief during your guided meditations, during your meta teachings, you are engaging the mystical energies to have communication with you. To not be in a form of negative communication, but to be in a form of positive form that brings pureness to your spirit. Now, the next myth that I'd like to bust is every mystical experience has a vision. No, it doesn't. That is, once again, back to that expectation process. So many people are waiting for their vision, waiting for their manifestation, when in fact it's all coming in here in internal dialogue that they are stunting, they are not allowing to have. They may find themselves talking 10 words out loud and suddenly stop and go, I can't say any more of that out loud. Somebody might hear me talking to myself. That is the mystical happening right then and there for you. And you must not limit its course. You must learn and discern from it. What are these words that are coming? Why do they have processes within me? Allowing yourself to not be in the limited, that it's only going to be vision. Then you get to understand why that's a myth. Everyone's waiting for the vision. It's not real until it's right in front of you. No, that is some theological point of view that has been projected at us through our history and dogmas of science and spirituality. Make choices, your own self-illuminated choices. So I want to remind everyone, we're going to be doing a Q&A. So if you have questions, put them down here in the chat so my team can pull them out and we can have the best questions ready. Okay? Now, the next myth that I want to talk about is there's only one way. I am talking the unlimited point of view. So whenever there is something that's saying there is only one way, that is an absolute. And absolutes, to turn a phrase from Star Wars, are the way of the Sith. Now, there are times that presenters may use absolutes to present a form of idea or concept. But when one is in the zealotous saying, there is only one way, and it is my way, that is an extreme absolute. And this is where we must subtly learn what we are saying to our world. Are we giving absolutes out there to our unseen world? This is where we must be impeccable with our own internal dialogue, meaning what it is we're truly trying to get. Now, is there only one way? Well, that would be a fool's errand to say there's only one way. You know, the law of one states that we're all one being. Well, we are all one being. From fetus to fetus, lifetime to lifetime, interacted in a process, in a frequency of light, in a solar system, in a galaxy of light that's in a universe of light. It is its own mystical experience and vision. Allow yourself to understand the teachings of absolutes, and you will be able to bust the myth of any creature being trying to say that there is only one way. Now, the next one I want to break down is free will. Now, many of you have heard me talk through the galactic history, through the other videos that I've talked about, how in our ancient past other beings are out there and are aware of us, and that some of them try to infringe upon us. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Free will here is you must earn it and re-earn it, learn it and earn it over and over again within the divine co-creative self. For it'll be in the divine co-creative self that you, the hyper being of the now, can hyper-create with your own mystical experience, allowing the rules of absolutes to teach you that there are an infinite amount of ways. And when something is defined as a singular way, that singular experience could only be experienced in a singular point of view, then you know that that is a limited point of view that has charge and polarity in it. And you use your discerning entities to determine, can I go within that charge and polarity as a neutral observer, without expectations, engaging my precognitive functions so I can be aware at my fullness of experience what this mystical energy, what this mystical experience is trying to teach me through a law of absolutes. Free will means you are engaging it at all levels. You are passing the torch of free will to the next ever-present moment you, and the next ever-present moment you after that. When do your ever-present you moments end? When you stop doing a revocation, the fullness of energy is not in your body? When you're 19, are you in the fullness of your energy? When you're 99 years from now? Free will, once again, is passed on to the next I am you, the next ever-present moment you. You can create things that take away expectations and limitations of passing on the next moment to the next version of yourself. For each and every day we go to sleep, we wake up, we have a dream time in a world of duality. That is the most basic form of free will. We choose to sleep. We choose to engage the dream time at a whole new layer and level. I, as part of Living the Mystical Life Daily online course, am going to reiterate over and over again: equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order, non-duality, non-separation. But we live in a world of duality that accepts dream time as its own absolute. Think about that. In a world that accepts dream time as its own absolute. We fall asleep, we wake up. Science has defined dream time as something that does not give you anything beneficial to the world of science. Now, that is a hyperbolic statement, but I use that for a point of teaching. It is in our choices and choice points that have created adherence to reality since we were very young, that has programmed us so at the youngest age, that when we're going to our dreams, that is the dream state, and this is the real world. And then you compound that over as many years that you are alive with all the imprints that you've had from media, personalities, human beings, other spiritual teachers, all teaching you a different way, still in a world of duality. There is no separation. There is no duality. It is choice. And it will always be choice of engaging the free will to be in duality or non-duality. Contemplate that deeply. Now, the next myth I want to bust is disinformation. So many people come to me, when is the dinar going to pass? Never. When is the economy going to crash? It's not. When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? There are so many fake news sources out there. This is where we must learn once again the law of focus. That which you focus on will be in the nature of your reality, will be a part of your reality, will be interactive with your reality. There are negative forms of information, weaponized forms of information out there that can take the reader down charge and polarity. But if one is practiced in their borders and boundaries, practice as a name it to claim it process, practice as a sacred neutral observer, practice that has repetition with illumination, then when you look at disinformation, you will know what it is from the very nature of its word order. You will know from its very nature if it's leading you down charge and polarity with the sentence and structures and the themes and the meanings. If it is something that triggers you directly, this disinformation can be seen as a form of way of healing. Now, one of the things that I regularly do is I put myself in other negative information sources, not trying to name names, but ones that I don't agree with, to see if there's charge and polarity in their words that is attracting me to charge and polarity. That is a practice sacred neutral observer. Am I engaging the lion's den? No. I'm looking at something that's commonly posted, that people are having responses to, and I go, what is this? There are also times where you must understand there are times you need no information. And that disinformation is the process of no information, meaning you're only getting information that's never leading you to your infinite hyper self. Who are you right now? That's what disinformation is trying to target, who you are right now, through your online habits, through how you read your emails, through what purchases and stuff you buy in instant gratification processes. Disinformation can affect us in every way, shape, and form. There's disinformation in commercials all the time. There's disinformation in the Truther Network all the time, both for positive and negative. When we choose not to be a zealot or a martyr about disinformation that has charge and polarity, that we're not going to repost it on our Facebook wall. We're not going to engage the disinformation process and reshare it, for we know what it is. We will also choose to make a selective form of comments on other people's threads who are posting disinformation. And it can simply say, that is one way to believe. There are an infinitude amount of ways to believe. And when there are singular sources saying they're absolutes, ultimately they are not the way of true information. Those are, again, ways for you to engage disinformation and information in different ways and techniques. Just 1 second. I gotta sneeze. All right. So we're now in the next part here. And this is taking a culmination of what you've heard I've said, the challenges and obstacles, manifesting your will. And this is where, in Living the Mystical Life Online Daily, you'll be targeting before you go to sleep and just after you wake up, learning to make moments sacred that truly last. And then you'll be coming to the emulation versus emanation teaching. Think of the word emulate. Think of the word emanate. What is the difference between the two? One is a copy. The other is the true source. This is the very nature of determining if you are fully emanating the own message of your own voice. The Living the Mystical Life Daily online course is asking you to conscious, sacred, neutral engagement of your past, present, and future selves. It is saying with our out loud voice and our meditative dialogue process, we are going to create avenues and windows that allow us to communicate to our dreamtime self as the fetus in our womb. We are going to challenge the layers of reality. And to do this, we must have basic spiritual hygiene teachings. We must be willing to consciously and effortlessly clear out our home environments, whether it's through the use of sage or consciousness intent. But there also must be some form of litmus testing of the self. Is my one sage wand in a month in my house truly enough? Or is that all I'm able to do without triggering the rest of the people in the house? Or is this all I'm able to do because I've created limitations within myself because I live in my own home? How much spiritual hygiene you need will be your biggest form of self-discernment. It's as important as brushing your teeth. It is important as taking a shower. When you make it a part of your daily, everyday, interactive process as a joyful process, you get to engage your sacred, neutral, higher selves in the emanation teaching, making sacred moments that last, so that you can have the deepest form of sleep, the most regenerative form of dreams, connected, and when you awaken, you begin that day again as living the mystical life daily in the process of engaging your higher self. So there are plenty of things that I want to remind people. So there are certain do's and don'ts. If you're going to do something, it would be important for you to combine these teachings in the more unusual ways. So one of the last videos, you were able to have the Sanctuary for All Souls or the Advanced Heart Meditation. Those are ones that you should, most people would think you wouldn't use those in times of strife or times of mental hardship. No, those are when you want to use those. Those are when you want to engage them, because they are going to give you that thirst for life, that once again reconnection to your divine self. By allowing yourself to combine these techniques in a la carte system. This one works for me today. This one worked for me yesterday. Maybe I need to combine them in a way that allows me to have greater opening within myself. It is like assembling the metaphorical Voltron by connecting the teachings in a string of powerful emanations of your own self-discipline focused. Now, some of the teachings are asking you to read out loud for 4, 5, 6, 10, or even some of the higher ones, 20 minutes. What does it take for you to maintain high frequency for 20 minutes? This is that, once again, metaphorical triathlon training. Because you are not just training the voice, you are training in manifesting the will, the alchemy of creation, the connection of the fetus in the womb, your advanced visualization process, your ability to journey as a dreaming I am being in the wake now. All of those skills are being exercised through these guided meditation teachings, through these out loud name it to claim it revocations and invocations. These are all assembling the greater you, the greater way to engage the sovereign I am self at the highest levels and layers. Okay, so we're going to do the Q&A now. So I'm going to pop into the first Q&A here. Just a second here. All right. All right, so these are some personal experiences. They're long ones. Here we go. Okay, so this one's a little bit of chargy question, but it's a good one. This is from Susan Tower. Thank you for all you do. I have been a water protector at Standing Rock, and I know I'm now being tracked. Do the processes you're talking about enough to keep me protected? I want to step up and do more, but I do not want to be harmed or my family harmed. Well, you are standing in a wave of charge and polarity. That's the first thing you have to understand. So if you're going to engage your sacred discipline in a wave of charge and polarity, you must see yourself like a knife cutting the wind, a very thin profile, a very thin and defined boundary that is designed to sever cords that are projected charge and polarity, almost if there were 10,000 knives around you, constantly cutting cords of charge and polarity that's trying to be impregnated into you. And this is where you can use the contract revocation. For Susan, the one that I recommend for you is to go to andrewbartzis.com, and on the Insights page, you will see one that says the Union and Communion Collective Consciousness Strike, Revoking the Carrot and Stick. Now, I've had many people that are involved in the Standing Rock come to me for private sessions because they too are going through dense energies being projected at them from the media, from the people on the other side of the fence, from their own people who aren't able to live spiritual, clean lives. You're at a point where charge and polarity is everywhere. You want to be the peacemaker and the peacekeeper here. And the Living the Mystical Life Daily is about engaging the peacemaker and the peacekeeper at the next levels. So your trials and tribulations are truly teaching everyone around you and the unseen world that's around you. So Susan, instead of putting all of the focus on stopping the pipeline itself, make the focus about stopping the spirits, changing the form of energy, using the collective conscious, the Union and Communion Consciousness Strike to engage the spirits of the ancestral land to begin to say no at such a level that everything begins to get rejected. Okay? So my next question, this one's from Sarkis. Which one is more important, sexual energy or meditation? Now, that is a simple question, and yet it's extremely well defined. At any given point, one may need sexual energy. And at any given point, one may need meditation. Finding the medium between what is sexual drive, that's through repetition without the experience of release. Many people have caught in that repetition without the illuminated process within it, or whatever is within it is not giving it. This is where you should be choosing meditation over the sexual energy release so that your sexual energy can build through the roof. But this will take self-discipline and self-mastery of your own body to understand why you're using the meditation energy. Not to push it down, but to make it more of your cellular structure so that you are engaging what can be the orgasmic energy into the cellular structure of the body, mind, and spirit. Truly engaging through meditation the sexual energy process of your Kundalini release. Now, there are thousands of modalities that try to teach that, such as yoga. Meditation is yoga. So here is an example. One can begin to mix the advanced heart meditation, doing as in an internal, or listening to it as they're doing their yoga process, getting the fullness of their spirit. All right. So the next question, what is the benefit or importance of having soul family in your life? Although the relationship might not be the easiest, like having parents or siblings as a soul family thing. Okay, so this one's from Dmitry Glukov. What is the benefit or importance of having soul family in your life? Well, without them, you couldn't be here. That's the first thing. So you would not have a life here. What is the importance of them in your life will determine how rich of life you're going to have. And yes, the relationships may not be easy, but those are the trials, tribulations that you created for yourself to determine where you're going in your life, what you're doing in your life. Those are your spiritual contracts you created for a variety of reasons that's saying these relationships are here created by my soul family process, many of them having age-old processes. When I begin to spiritually engage them in the unseen world, wherever there's a negative relationship in the physical world, you can alter that relationship in the other world, in the unseen world. Begin to neutralize those patterns of sharpness and harshness. Begin the forgiving process of yourself or those siblings. Now, many of us also have soul family members who are not our siblings, who are not our mothers and fathers, cousins, aunties, and uncles. They are people we have never met, and the moment we see them, we know them as if they have been our auntie and uncle from the dawn of time. This is where we must engage sacred companionship, sacred friendship, and learn to be about more in the giving and the freeing of life force. So Dimitri had a great question there. Okay. This next one. Next one was from Spiridula Azagiana. Andrew, can you elaborate more about being unpredictable? Now, I kind of like this one a lot. So, what is unpredictable? It isn't randomness. It is when you're engaging your precognitive functions on everything that's observing you so that you can truly do an action that's not influenced by entangled or unentangled observers. Unpredictable is using your highest form of willpower so that you can create a standing field of I am presence is here. You cannot influence me. Whatever is in forced evolution can no longer be a part of me because I am engaging my sacred, organic, natural, co-creative evolution that is in divine union and communion with the law of one and the source being who is an unpredictable being. Now, the next process about being unpredictable is when we are being predictable. To be unpredictable, you got to know your habit patterns. You got to know your challenges. You got to know the things that stop you from being you, that take away you from being you. If you aren't self-aware, you are predictable. And if you are predictable, other forces in other space and times will take that predictability and use it in materialism, consumerism, use it in instant gratification, use it in the form of spiritual energy exchange because you will never be aware that they're even exchanging energy with you. When one chooses to become unpredictable, they are severing the cords of predictability within themselves. Okay, so the next question. This one is from Najiba. How can you have an organ or a gland if it was surgically removed? Well, the energy is still there. This goes back to that metaphor I said before. You know, there's a drawer over there that has forks and knives in it. Everyone has that. You know that it's there. When somebody has said it's removed, people that have had limbs removed still feel them. I've had dozens of healing clients that have come to me that have no arms and that have limbs removed and still have the phantom energy. And yet when you engage chi and martial arts, they can actually feel the touch. When you engage energy on a person who's had a hand removed, you can touch the tips of the fingers and they can still feel it. It is always there. It is our belief in adherence to choice points that says our reality is altered to say that it's not there, with a manifest scar that's saying it's been removed. But you can spiritually engage it. Think of the hologram. In holographic pictures, you could cut the hologram in half and the full picture would still be there. You could cut it down in half an infinite amount of times and the tiniest little piece will have the whole picture. The same thing applies to the human hologram. No matter what is removed, the wholeness of the picture is there. You must just be willing to see the wholeness of the picture. Okay? So we did that one. All right, so this is a longer one. And this one's about sleep paralysis. So this one's from Mark Armstrong. Hey, Andrew, so excited for the upcoming program. I'm really keen to understand more about sleep paralysis and the daily processes around going to sleep and waking. I've recently had 2 experiences after massive personal healing sessions where some of the entity is being attempted to harvest my energy. I can see through this my third eye in sleep paralysis. The first time it looked like grays and it was looked and poked in a little cattle prod. The second looked some form of dark being drawing energy. Was it in my energy that is attracting this? Both times have immediately gone into revocation, name it to claim it, to stand my sovereignty. However, I find it very strange it occurred a second time after a very powerful healing session. What am I missing? Now, these are some private questions that one must understand that I'm going to limit for the audience here. So what we perceive as grays are not always grays. What we perceive as one thing is not always that. What I believe is happening here is many things are happening at once into you. And the innate process of going back into revocations is knowing that your reality is on the verge of being violated, is on the verge of being imprinted on, and your precognitive self through your dreaming world is beginning to warn you that something in your area may be a predator. So that is your own inner awareness using dream world saying, be prepared. Be understanding. You just had 2 powerful healing sessions, and now, wait, why am I having these dreams? This is a premonition dream. This is saying that your revocations have gone so far. Now you must put revocations into the future you, who may be that person, who may be going through that harshness of experience, so that you are suspending a revocation treatment directly to the person who's going through that precognitive experience. That is something that you engage the higher spirit with, especially when people are having challenging dreams that are making them question the nature of reality. So instead of seeing it as an attack or a targeting, you see it as an anti-targeting, an anti-attack, because you can do the complete opposite any moment in your dream space. It'll be you engaging the hyper-discipline and the hyper-processes that allow the fullness of you to get to the next level of the I am being. Okay. Let me get a sip of tea here a second. All right, this next one. This one's from Sandro Bowman. Andrew, what do I tell a friend who's only 40 who thinks she's had enough of the 3D world and said she's ready to move on? Now, I get that one a lot. I'm done with this place. I'm ready to move on. Well, let's be frank. That person is depressed. That person is more than likely somewhat suicidal, but maybe not. That person is definitely obsessed with the world. They are in depression, regression, obsession. They are in shame, they are in blame, they are in guilt. They are in the throes of mediocrity, unable to get out, constantly lashing out to the world, going, I'm leaving you, world. Because in unawareness, they know that there's an unseen world. And every time they say, I'm done, I'm leaving, something's going to save me. That's the expectation of being saved. So, Sandro, you make a choice with that person. If you truly love them, truly engage with them, you say, what have you truly had enough of? You do not have enough love from your mother. You don't have your mystical experience. Here's a course to go practice. Here's a meditation to go do. Here's a friend to go meet. Get out in the world. Stop being a hermit. But you do it with a sacred, neutral way, that you begin to water the seed of sovereignty of the self to become aware. And then understand there's going to be the people who will not change. And then you got to say, why am I emanating this energy to my friend when they are only emulating their own form of despair? Is this a signature frequency teacher spirit I want in my life now? Great spirit and great mystery that is out there. Bring me the next signature frequency teaching. For this friend that I have great caring for, does not want to really be in this world, does not want to engage her sacred self. And I do. That's where you can begin to break contracts, vows, and agreements with those people on the energy level. You're not cutting them off in the physical level. You're saying to their energy being, I can no longer exchange energy when you believe you can't be here anymore. There's an infinite amount of things for you to enjoy, love, and be happy about. Engage them. But if you can't engage them on an energy level, I can no longer allow myself as an energy aware being to interact with that negative energy. Okay, this next question. All right, so this next one from Eleanor. When you speak about using our soul to see, not our mind, are you saying that we do not need to create images? When you are watching television, your mind is not creating the image. When you have recorded your own voice that has been projected at you, who's in a meditative state, it is the verbal television coming to you that is the creation of the images. So in the sanctuary of all souls, it exists eternally and internally. Internally, we are the one that is allowing our former self who recorded it to project at ourselves the fullness of vision we are creating with our out loud voice we did in the past. We are passing the torch of vision to our future self, who's trying to stay in a focused state so that these images have the fullness of them. So those are some of the ways that you can do. So the rest of your questions is all we need to allow ourselves to see. These are all the permanent no-time realities. Are there some techniques to see from the soul, or what may commonly block us? So in the definition that I gave, there are blocks all the time. And these blocks that I call perception deception filters. Now, break that down for a second. A perception deception filter. So in the most metaphorical terms, the most broad pointing way I can point at it is we have, for polarity's sake, in the way that this is described, if you have something that is like a racist statement, instantly we'll have triggers to it. Those triggers have filters within it. Now, when we use the word perception deception filter and we take away from the extremity of racism and we use it into the subtle of passive aggressiveness, there are certain things that create deception filters within us that allow us to continue to suspend belief that we know a person, we shouldn't hang out with them. We know that this person isn't good. We know that this product isn't good. We know, but we're allowing it to continue, allowing complacency to take over. Those are perception deception filters. So when it comes from something stopping your vision or finding yourself in the third person, now I know I answered this question before, but there are many different reasons why people will only see themselves in the third person version. Some because of the way they learn to read and write, others because they never allow themselves to see themselves in the dream world, others because they play first-person shooter games all the time from the third-person point of view, a variety of things. You want to get it internally, where your two eyes have the ability to look out your heart. That is where you started, as the heart. So if you're able to make your guided meditations, even in the Sanctuary of All Souls, have arms and legs, that's great. But the minimum that you want to do is that heart with the eyes and the little arms and the legs, so you can move with the vision, create with the vision. Allow the vision that's being projected to you from your own recorded voice to telepathically transmit everything you know about what you're speaking, so that that vision begins to lay seeds of deep inner sight. Because it's inner sight versus vision that gives us the greater forms of knowingness. Excuse me here. All right. So this next one is this is dealing with paradoxes. So I'm going to read the question. Can you speak more on how to envision the 4 paradox timelines running parallel to us? Can I heal myself without also engaging the potential versions of myself on the other timelines? Also, why do you say that the other timelines are paradoxes and this one is not? What does that mean? So in the Galactic History, the 20 episodes, I explained that, as well as a number of others after that. So the 4 previous timeline paradox represents the 4 previous worlds of destruction that lead to a point where a paradox was created, and everything was uncreated. A galactic uncreational event or universal uncreational event happened, and we looped back in time to 54 million years ago and started doing it over. That happened 4 times. individuals who did have our best choice points through those 4 previous paradox timelines were selectively taken out of individual paradoxes, and a new timeline, a non-paradox timeline, was seeded, and that is us, the one that is crossing the galactic central plane now, the one that within the law of one is saying is going through that harvest process where the bigger souls will step forward and show the 5th, 6th, and 7th density entities the greatness of what we learned in our cycle that was here. So yes, there is a looping set of paradoxes that are going over and over again, teaching and reteaching, learning and relearning what it took to get through the galactic ascension machine, what it took to go through to get your PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. So if you go back and listen to the Galactic History series, you'll have a greater answering of that, as well as the Mystery School series and the Dragon series also. Okay, so the next question is, can we prove there is a soul? And how not to confuse soul with spirit? Why do you need to prove there's a soul? Why do you need to prove anything? That's a science question. Now, are science and spirits inherently polarized and charged differently? No, that is only perception and point of view. But right now, you don't need to prove a soul exists. You know it, it's there. If you don't, that's the journey to discover it. That's what seekers of knowledge are. That's why people do mysticism since the dawn of mysticism itself, to discover the difference between spirit and soul, how to not confuse it. So what is the difference between soul and spirit? Your soul is the higher self, who is in the future, who is not leading you carrot and stick, but is sending you gifts, waiting in time for you to accept them, consume them, engage them, so that because you are a I am being of the now, who is spiritually contracted and engaged to be in this world. You are a resolution machine. And the machine of resolution is our DNA and how we interact with the world. When we stay out of instant gratification and out of charge and polarity, we discover spirit. We work with spirit. Spirit is everywhere. It is in the rocks and the grass. Spirit is the law of one. The soul is the part of us that's just in the future, giving the seeded gifts to the spirit world so we can make a path to the next level that makes us relevant to the now, so we can pass on the legacy to the future versions of ourselves. Whew. Get into the flow sometimes there. I've been talking for nearly a straight hour. It's been kind of special now. Okay? Let me just take a sip here. All right, everyone. So now we're going to get to the next part here. So let me give you the big picture of what Living the Mystical Life online course is about and the benefits that come with it. You are going to be engaging your sacred discipline and learning about your obstacles. But where you're going to get it is an out loud name it to claim it system that brings peace into your life, brings heart-spaced awareness into your life, gives you tools, tips, techniques, and guided meditations to overcome some of the harder challenges that are within going through spirit, discovering the nature of the soul versus spirit, discovering what time and no time is, learning how to create ceremonies within yourself that are sacred, that have long-lasting processes. So I'm going to walk you through the course real quick. So you're going to be learning about the peacemakers and the peacekeepers. That is standing your ground so the 7 future generations can come to their own form of cradleboard relation. And a cradleboard relation is who I'm going to pass on my torch of eldership to, be it my children or the students that I pass it on to. You're going to be learning about the 5th world of peace and an out loud name it to claim it format, so you can claim the 5th world of peace as yours, as an emanation teaching of how to understand what prayer is, engaging the 7 directions, the internal processes of what the different directions mean. You'll be invoking the 5th world of peace, bringing it directly to your world. You'll be learning what the universal citizen is, how to act at a universal scale, what concept one needs to have within themselves to truly understand the sacred neutral point of view. You'll be coming back to the heart space in the circle of life. You'll be truly understanding how, through these name it to claim it process, what heart-spaced offerings are to the ancestors, past, present, and future. You'll be learning about the peace pipe from the great stars and beyond, understanding what animal medicines are, such as dragonfly, thunder and lightning beings, and more declarations to your blood. You'll discover the finding of your prayer at a higher frequency friendship and relationship to the universal source working through us all. Understanding that you're creating a sovereign piece of yourself that is working within your prayer world to bring remedy and resolve to you. You'll learn auditing your dream weave, what the dream weave is. You'll be learning about the animal medicine teacher, such as the spider and the butterfly, learning what webs of creation are around you. And then the great sacred space teaching of how to engage your inner sacred space and to make that sacred space in the out loud name it to claim it format truly have value within your energies. You'll be going on the sacred journey and dreaming with the I am self, understanding what the turtle's shell in the sacred cave is, until you get to the level where you're going to construct your own dream lodge of peace. Imagine having your own dream lodge that you go to each and every night that has been processed of your name it to claim it process, graduating and building you to your having own place where you've given prayers to the star brothers and sisters. You've manifested yourself in the dream lodge. You've done the invitation to the soul family and the soul family reunion. Because within this course, you have guided meditations that clear out your dream world. That is the advanced dream world clearing. You then have a soul family reunion meditation teaching so that all of these can become manifest into the greater process. You'll be learning what the grove of the patriarchs and the grove of the matriarchs are. These are guided meditation teachings that teach you about spiritual photosynthesis, how to find the ancient patriarchs in the grove of the patriarchs or matriarchs, to understand the difference between masculine and feminine energy and what true equal co-creation, non-competition, emanation energy is within yourself. You'll be discovering the sanctuary of all souls, how to create within it. And then galactic meditation and the universal meditation. The galactic meditation is helping you understand what Earth fraud time is and what the galactic time you're living in is. And the universal meditation teaching is about teaching you comparison and contrast between what is in your DNA memories and what is in the truth of the Akashic record at a planetary level, a solar system level, a galactic and a universal level, so you have the fullness of comparison and contrast between the two. So those are just some of the features that you'll be getting in the 6-week online course. With the 6 weeks of training, it's over 10 hours of teaching that would normally cost $15,000 of private sessions with me. But for only $997, you get this advanced training delivered to your inbox every week for 6 weeks. And you get to keep them forever to watch over and over again to make sure you see the change in your life. And you'll be getting a bunch of bonus. For the first bonus, you'll be getting the alchemy course, which is a $197 value. This alchemy course is an all-encompassing expression of how to change the energy around yourself and in your environment. You'll learn in-depth information how crystals can change your environment and how bioelectric life force illuminates everything around you. The second bonus, you'll be getting the Equinox and Solstice course, a $147 value. This will teach you about growth, renewal, change, shedding of the old. These are some of the words we use to describe the cycles of nature. They are also cycles that we can use for ourselves to become the embodiment of what these words mean. It's about a new life, new beginning, and growing in new potentials through ceremony. You'll learn exactly how to do it in this course. And then the third bonus, you'll be getting 2 tuition waivers to come to the Living the Mystical Life Daily live seminar, a $1,994 value. This live seminar is a gathering of masters on the path of self-illumination. You'll get to interact with the people, just beginning with those who have been doing it for their great work for ages. This is where Andrew, I bring the magic, and it gets to you. You get to help, and it gets to you with the help of the collective energies to higher states of consciousness and transformation. This is literally the high point of the year for the training. The next event is October 5th through the 8th, 2017 in Seattle, Washington. There is no tuition fee for you. You save $1,994. Though you will pay a one-time separate $97 materials fees if you want to attend, and this covers you and your guests. You get all this as a part of Living the Mystical Life Daily. That's over $2,300 of bonuses alone. And we give a guarantee. And that's the best part. If you're not totally satisfied with the course, you can just email us and ask for a full refund within 30 days of your purchase. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So click on the button below, above the right. So click on the button right above the screen for more information and to join the course. If for some reason you don't see it appear, just refresh your page, the page button. It's been an honor to be here with you. Thank you for your questions and comments, and make sure you make every moment mystical. Thank you very much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the course. I look forward to sharing the fullness of the mystical life with you. Have a great day.